Hey guys, this is Graham. I am an author, illustrator, and truck driver in Oklahoma City. I am trying to get out of the truck full time and into the writing desk full time. You can help me do that by checking out my books on Amazon and watching this channel. Now on to the video. What's up guys? Welcome back out to the shop. This is my review of The Boy Who Fell Off the Mayflower by P.J. Lynch. He's an Irish author who put together this book back in 2015, and it is an illustrated story of the life of John Howland. If you don't know who he was famously the passenger who he boarded with the Pilgrims. He was on a service contract with John Carver, and during the voyage, he actually fell off the Mayflower, as the title suggests. And through sheer luck and the fact that there was a rope hanging off the side of the ship in a storm, he was able to grab it, and they reeled him back in. He didn't travel with his family, though he had a sibling that came later. He never saw his mom after he left London in 1620. He never saw her again. And the story does a great job of just putting a narrative to the life of this man. It doesn't get into how old he was or how old Elizabeth Tilley was, although it does focus on her as a passenger, just Lizzie Tilley. It portrays them as being probably closer to the same age than they were in real life. He was 21 and she was probably 13 or 14. They would get married a couple of years after landing at Plymouth in 1620. So she might not have been 18, but that wasn't like really the age or the consideration back then. But they did get married, and they were very consequential to American history because they had 10 children together, and all 10 of their children survived to adulthood and married, which gives them one of the largest progeny among all the Mayflower Pilgrims. Not just the fact that they survived and got married and had kids, but that they had that many and that they made it. Their descendants are very, very significant because there's an entire society dedicated to tracking the direct descendants of John and Elizabeth Howland. And many of them have gone on to either prominent works in the arts or in politics and stuff. In fact, I believe that the Bushes and the Nixons and some of the Roosevelts were all directly descended from Howland and Tilley. But as for this book itself, in addition to the art just being really, really good, it also finds a way to kind of humanize this historical figure by walking you through this portion of his life in the first person. And all of the details that I've read in it, they seem to be pretty spot on and accurate to the nonfiction stuff that I've read over the years. I'm trying to find the page here where they meet Samoset. That's when they met Massasoit and Squanto, but Samoset would have been before this. But it's all, the details are all accurate to the overall event, and then it gets into the various, the nitty-gritty of Howland's life to the extent that it's relevant, and then it gets to the very end, where it couches his personal arc in terms of whether he was going to go back the following year. Like I said, he was there on a service contract to John Carver, who was the first governor of the Plymouth colony. But Carver died in April of 1621 after working in a field. He got probably heat stroke and fell sick and died. And then his wife, Catherine, died about 5 or 6 weeks later. In this story here, it says it's because of grief, and I've seen that cited as at least a possible cause, among other complicating factors. The people were suffering. Half of them died in that first winter, that didn't make it all the way to the first Thanksgiving in 1621. And so, for somebody like him, who was suddenly a free man and had seen so much suffering, had gone through so much loss, there was a temptation to want to return to England the following year. And a few weeks after the first Thanksgiving, a ship called the Fortune showed up, and he was planning on leaving, but it's presented as, he has one last talk with Elizabeth Tilley, who he'd made friends with on the voyage over, and she, among other things, is able to convince him to stay. And that's good, because if you know the story of the Fortune, the Mayflower voyage was not financially successful for its backers for the first couple of years. They were supposed to send some goods back in the spring of 1622, and they were able to load up the Fortune with some goods, but then that ship got seized by French pirates. And it's possible that John Howland would have then spent the rest of his life in slavery or marooned or something, like his course would have been very grossly interrupted. But this is a great book. Like, in addition to the art being fantastic, I thought that the way that he spun the narrative together was just really inventive and also hewed true to the facts as we know them. He even covers a little bit about the Speedwell, the second ship that departed with the Mayflower but had to stay behind because as soon as it got out into open waters, it started leaking like a sieve. He explains a little bit as to why. He's really good with the word economy in here too. Like, he lets the pictures tell the bulk of the story, and the words are there just to kind of supplement them and string it all together. So this is a book that's great for young readers, but it also gives you a good primer on the life of this very significant figure in American history. So go hit up your library, see if they've got it. This came out in 2015, so it's been around for a minute, and you can probably find a copy. Hey, thank you for watching that. Did you know that I'm also an author? You can check the description for a link to my book, Mr. Friday. It's set in a future where Black Friday is militarized and televised, and the best Friday fighters end up getting sponsors and backing. But it just so happens that the very best of them actually wants to take the holiday down. When he's approached by a couple of other like-minded fighters, he jumps at the chance, and it goes haywire from there. This is a short novella, and it's available in ebook format for just 99 cents. Drive safe. See you out there.